guys, and welcome to another Wargame Red Dragon tutorial video with me, Bubblebox, and today we're looking at the Blufor ships in the deck system. And the first one we've got up is the Freemanle. Now I don't see, or very rarely see, this brought in by players in Wargame Red Dragon multiplayer at least, and I don't really put it in any of my decks. The reason being, why would you take this thing above any of the other fantastic command ships that you can get for the Blufor side? It only costs 100, yes, so it's fairly cheap to bring in for a command ship. So if you want a cheap command ship, this could be an option for you. But it's got no CIWS, so it's going to take just a couple of missile hits to take this guy down, with a strength of just 80 as well. And strength of 80 might seem a lot when compared to ground units, but for a command ship a strength of 80 is not that good at all. It's got a little bit of armor on the front, side and back, but the main thing is no CIWS, so you wouldn't want to leave this guy on its own without any protection from warships with good CIWS. And if you got them, well, why not just get them in the first place as a command ship? Its main weapon, well, its weapons are a not fantastic bow gun, the Blufor L60. Ground range is only 2,100, helicopter range only 2,100, and airplane range is very short, so not the most effective, and it's got a very poor accuracy and stabilizer as well, though it is fairly fast firing. It's got a Browning machine gun. Its main weapon, though, seems to be this thing on the back here, this mortar. However, the range again is only 4,900, and I really think they should up this to around the 7,000 meter range of the long range mortars on the land units, because, well, because no one ever uses this ship because it's so crap. It can be used as a mortar. I have used it on rare occasions when I've needed to smoke areas to support sea landings or units getting over bridges. You can use that. The one thing going for it, it is a coastal vessel, so if you want your command ship to get onto the coastal areas, you could use one of these for that as well. The speed is pretty average for a warship, but again, not the best ship in the world to start with on the Blufor side. Next, we've got a much better ship, the Hatsuyuki. Much better, much more points, of course. 250 points for this guy. It's a bit of an all-rounder. It's probably the second best warship on the Blufor side, but you're paying for it. It's got a strength of 200, which is pretty damn good. The CIWS is good as well, and it's got these RIM 7M Sea Sparrow missiles, which are part of the defense, the anti-missile defense system, which for the CIWS system. Always remember that these will deplete, and you will need to keep them resupplied during your game. So the Sea Sparrows, as well as firing for the CIWS, they've got the anti-helicopter range, which is decent, and a very nice anti-aeroplane range as well, of 4,200. Some nice anti-ship missiles with a nice long range of 8,750, decent accuracy and stabilizers, AP power of 80, which is pretty standard for the anti-ship missiles, these stats. And it's got the bow gun, which is slightly better than the one on the Freemanle, with a range of 3,150, and then helicopters and airplanes that can shoot at them as a last resort as well. Shoots reasonably high, so don't worry too much about the accuracy and the stabilizers, although they do play a part. So a nice all-rounder with a nice strength, can take a little bit of a battering there for the Blufor side. And then we've got the big daddy of them all, insofar as the Blufor is concerned, the big Congo. 420 points to bring in. So yeah, a lot of points, but a strength of 250, the strongest ship in the Blufor fleet. CIWS as well is very good, so it's going to take out a lot of missiles before it gets hit. And it's got a nice front and back armor of 4 and a side armor of 2. The anti-ship weapon, pretty much similar to the one before, 8,750 range, decent accuracy and stabilizer, got 8 of them, and an AP power of 80, so that's pretty standard. It's got some nice anti-air missiles which form part of its CIWS defense, and it's got 96 of them, so it can fire away happily for a fair amount of time before it has to get resupplied. and the accuracy and stabilizer on these are very good as well, very good CIWS. It's also got a nice bow gun with a really long range of 6,125, so it can shoot at anything onshore from a fair distance, and can also shoot at helicopters and airplanes as a last resort as well with its bow gun. So the strongest ship in the Blufor Blufor of the Blufor ships, the Congo. In my opinion, probably the third best ship in the game. Of course, you've got the two big ones for the Red Force side, which we'll have a look at in the next video, which will, on a one-to-one basis, destroy the Congo, I would imagine. Next, we've got the people's favourite, I would say, the Lafayette. Whenever I see people with a Blufor marine deck or a Blufor ship deck, they've always got Lafayettes in, always. And the reason is, it's a pretty damn nice ship. It's got some decent Exocet missiles with a range of not quite as long as the Congo and the Hatsuyuki range at 7,000, but the accuracy is better at 55%, up from 40% in those other two ships. And you've got 8 of those guys as well. Then you've got these Crotal CN2s. These form part of your CIWS and our anti-air and anti-helicopter defences as well. Nice range, but a very good accuracy and stabilizers as well, so these will do nicely against any incoming aircraft or helicopters within the range of this gun. It's got 24 of them, not the most, so this will need to be kept resupplied with a resupply ship. You've also got your bow gun, this time a 68 TR, and it's got one or two, just one of those guys. And one other thing to note about the rockets on these, the Exocet rockets, is that if you fire them sideways, and you can see there's 4 there, and there's 4 there, they will fire 4 all at once, which is also pretty awesome as well. Especially if you get a couple of these going side on to an enemy and shooting 8 of their missiles at once. Looks pretty awesome. But back to the bow gun, you've also got a bow gun. Again, it is a powerful and very nice bow gun with a range of 4,200 and 725, and can also shoot helicopters and aeroplanes with a decent accuracy and stabilizer. So a nice range on this bow gun makes this a really nice modern type of warship. It's also got 60% ECM and a medium CIWS, so it's able to protect itself to a certain extent. Not the fastest in the deck at 20, but not too shabby at all. And it is of course deep sea, so it can only go in the deep blue parts of the map. Next, we've got another an older fashioned looking kind of ship, but still a favourite to many players, the Oliver Hazard Perry. Another command ship, again a good all-rounder. I think the usual armour, nice harpoons. This time though, this is really your, if you get 3 of these in a deck, bring them all out, you've got 16 anti-ship missiles on each. So that's a lot of anti-ship missiles. If you bring maybe 3 of these guys out and you've got a Congo supporting them as well, you're looking pretty damn decent. So range 8,750, okay accuracy and stabilizer. The main thing is it's got 16 of these things. It's also got these SM1MR Block 5s with for the defense and the CIWS of medium. Decent range against helicopters, good range against aeroplanes, decent accuracy, well good accuracy and stabilizer for ships, and some armor as I mentioned, and a bow gun as well. Decent bow gun again at 3,150 meters against ground troops, and can also shoot against helicopters and aeroplanes. Strength 175. I did forget to mention the strength on the Lafayette, which was 150, and the Congo, which is 250. I think I did mention that, but yeah, a decent strength on this one, ECM of 30, and an average kind of speed on the water. So again, this will be probably one of your main anti-ship ships for the Blufor side. Next, we've got the Type 21. This is also a deep sea, but a cheaper one at 135 points. Strength not too bad at 150. This is kind of a sort of middle of the ground sort of, well basically it's, for me it's a ship on the cheap a little bit, and again it is cheap. It's got 4 Exocet missiles with a range of only 6,125, although the AP powers are exactly the same, so these are going to have to get fairly close to get their shots off. It's got the same armour as the bigger ships. It's got some Sea-Cat missiles which form its defence, but the CIWS is bad on this ship. It's not got the best in the world, so you've got to be really careful, or at least have other ships around this one when taking them in towards enemy territory. The accuracy on this thing is pretty good, but the range lets it down a little bit. It's got a nice-ish bow gun, although the accuracy and stabilizers aren't fantastic. It can shoot against ground units at a fairly nice range, and also against helicopters and aeroplanes as well. Speeds, it's a little bit faster than the other ships, but you're not going to want it to get ahead of the fleet too much, because it may well easily get taken out with its bad CIWS. So not the best ship in the deck. Don't see a lot of these out in people's decks, but you know, if you want something on cheap a little bit, then maybe go for this one. Oops. Next we've got the Baku. Now I do see this out quite a lot in people's decks, and the reason is that it's a coaster with some pretty okay-ish kind of, well, pretty nice weapons, I guess you'd say. First of all, you got this, it's really an anti-air, I think, an anti-air sort of platform to support your ships, and even to support your ground units as well. You'll see, probably I would say its main weapon is its anti-air RGM-66D here. 12 of those missiles can shoot helicopters at a range of 3,500 and airplanes at a range of 4,200, which for a 75 point unit ain't too shabby at all if you want to support some ground units. It's also got a bow gun, which is pretty decent with an HE power of 2 and a reasonably fast fire rate. Can shoot at ground units an okay range, and at helicopters and airplanes as well, and it's got a Browning machine gun for good measure and some armour. Now what lets it down, of course, is its CIWS. Okay, yeah, it's bad, so if it comes into range of a couple of anti-ship missiles, because it is a coaster and can get targeted by anti-ship missiles, it may well easily get taken out, especially with a strength of only 80. So it is cheap, it's really good against aeroplanes and helicopters and possibly in support of ground units, but again, bad CIWS means you've got to look after this guy. You do get quite a few of them in your deck though, I believe, if you choose to have a pack of these in your deck. Next we've got the Chaff. This is another cheapish kind of coastal ship. This time the CIWS is a little bit better at good, so it can protect itself to a certain extent, but the strength is only 50, so it's not got the best strength for a ship. It's fairly fast. It's got basically things that fire fast. I mean, it's not got the best range, it's not got the best weapons. It's got a Blufor L60 gun with that sort of average kind of range against ground helicopters and aeroplanes. It's got a Browning machine gun, and it's got a Sea Vulcan for its CIWS, which will fire really, really fast, but yeah, probably fairly limited units for this guy. But if you want something cheap and cheerful to rush in somewhere, you will get quite a lot of them, and you could consider this the Chaff. Then we've got the Dong Hai. Now this isn't too bad, again mainly for probably sort of coastal support vessel, I would say. It is a coastal unit. It's got no CIWS. It's one of the older types of ship. You're going to have to keep this thing well protected by having complete air superiority and some bigger ships near it. It's good against helicopters and airplanes with these, both with this gun and with this gun as well. It can shoot against ground units. It's got a nice range with it. It's a Malera OTO bow gun. Yeah, it's sort of a little bit of a all-rounder. I probably wouldn't put this in my deck. It's got a decent strength of 100 for just an 85.1. Not the fastest thing in the world. Yeah, I'll let you make your mind up on that one. I probably wouldn't take them much in my decks. Then we've got the LCU. This is your logistics truck for the seas. Not the strongest at 80. No CIWS, so you've got to keep this out of harm's range. harm's way. Costs 75, but it's got, look, 10,000 litres of supply, so you can use that to resupply your rockets and your CIWS weapons in your ships, and also to repair them. Although if the bigger ships get very damaged, it's sometimes useful just to pull them out of the battle, because they'll take so much time and so much logistics to repair. It's just hardly worth it. So I'd use these things more for sort of top-up repairs if something's got a couple of health points missing, and for resupplying the weapons on your ships. And of course you can also use these things for resupplying ground units, because they will go all the way along the rivers and right the way up to the shores, and they will supply helicopters and well, they'll supply anything really. So pretty nice things. You've got to have at least one of these, I think, if you have a marine deck, maybe even 2 packs to keep your fleet on the move and fully charged up. And they've got a little bit of armor as well. Next we're moving sort of onto the Riverines a little bit. We've got these monitors. Now these monitors are really floating artillery pieces. They're not the strongest things in the world, with a strength of just 80. You do get a lot of them. I think you get about 6 to 8 of these things. And the main weapon is this artillery piece with a range of 16,800. It's got a lot of ammo, so it can fire pretty most of the game without needing a resupply. Quite a small dispersion, so a nice kind of artillery piece, I guess, if you can keep it safe. Don't see people use them a great deal. They tend to use the rocket artillery a lot more rather than these things. But it's got a bit of armor as well. It's got no CIWS, of course, but it is a Riverine, so it can't get targeted by anti-ship warfare missiles anyway. None of the Riverines can. It's quite slow. It's got some other weapons. It's got a couple of kind of auto cannons here, twin auto cannons. That both exactly the same, actually, aren't they? Yeah, they're both exactly the same. They can fire at ground units and at helicopters as well, so they can protect themselves a little bit from a helicopter attack if they come under attack from choppers. Next, we've got the Zippo. Now, I do see people use these a fair amount. So Zippo got the same sort of barge type as the artillery piece we had a look at previously, but these ones launch napalm from for their main weapon, have also got a bow gun as well, so they're pretty good for, can be pretty good for ground attacks, for flushing infantry out of woods and buildings and stuff like that. The range for the napalm is 1050, which is pretty much the same as the tanks, I believe, on the land. Got plenty of ammo, and the bow gun can do a fair bit of damage if it can get close enough as well. And we've got a group of maybe 4 or more of these. They can do a fair amount of damage moving up a river. And I've got a bit of armor as well, and of course a strength of 40, so I can take a few hits from ground units as well. There, nice little unit if you want to use that. Then we've got the Pegasus. Now this is like, I've tried this, it's quite difficult to use, needs a lot of microing. What's good is it's the fastest ship in the game with a speed of 38. It's a coaster, so it can go all the way up the coasts. It really is purely anti-ship, although it has got a Malera bow gun as well, which you can use, but it's got no CIWS, and the strength isn't fantastic. Only cost 100, so it doesn't cost too much. So if you use them carefully, I guess these things could be quite effective, because they have got 8 anti-ship missiles for just 100 points and a Malera bow gun, which is a lot of firepower on a single platform, which is quite fast, but it's got no CIWS, so you've got to really keep this thing behind the rest of your fleet, well protected from those anti-ship warfare planes, helicopters and ships. Then, where am I? Then we have the Pegasus, Zippo, Pegasus, Pohang here. Slightly larger ship, costing 125 points, strength decent at 120, and has got a medium CIWS and some armor and a slightly fastish kind of speed. It's only got 2 anti-ship missiles, so we'll soon run out of ammo. It's got a nice bow gun with a range of 3,150 to shoot at the ground units, and some helicopter and airplane defences. Not the best in the world, but kind of will get it by. Little bit of sort of kind of a cheap all-rounder, I would say. A cheap all-round. If you want a cheap all-round ship, and you get a few of them with a nice bow gun, so you could like charge in with a load of these things with bow guns ablazing, I suppose, then you could consider this. And finally, we've got the STRB 90H, another Riverine, another riverboat. I do see a lot of these out as well. I use these myself in a couple of my decks. They've got a couple of really nice weapons. They've got these Hellfire missiles, which can take down tanks and heavy armor and light armor and medium armor as well, of course, with a range of 2,800 meters and an accuracy of 70% and a stabilizer as well, so they can fire on the move, and an AP power of 26, 8 of them. That's a pretty awesome weapon for just 70 points with a strength of 40 as well. And they've also got these frag grenades which you can shoot at the infantry and stun and kill infantry with as well, and a bit of armor to boot. It's a Riverine, it can't get targeted by those nasty anti-ship warfare weapons, so needs to be taken out by conventional aircraft, choppers and land units. The only thing it's really vulnerable to, I would say, is ATGM fire to a certain extent, but to helicopters, because you can see the helicopter range of its weapons is fairly limited. So if people bring in some nice ATGM choppers, they can take these things out, so just be aware of that if you want to bring these guys into your decks. So that's about it for the Blufor ships, or the Blufor Navy, and I'll move on to the next video to having a look at the Red 4 Navy, and then we'll head off after that one and have a look at the aircraft and the choppers. So I hope you got something out of this video. Please do comment, like and subscribe if you've got any comments on any of these ships, your favourites, what you think's really good or any really bad ones in the deck system. Let me know. I'm always interested to find out your views, and I'll see you in the next one.